In the year 1849, 14 clay tablets were discovered in Sumer, and until now, these tablets represent a great mystery in all historical, scientific, and ideological circles as well, as they contain the oldest known writings dating back to the 24th century BC. While it contains stories, it shares some events with many of the writings of other ancient civilizations. However, it was distinguished by very significant differences from the writings of other civilizations. These tablets contain details of the beginning of man and civilization from the point of view of ancient Sumerian culture. The subject of human beginnings and origins is usually approached from two different fundamental points of view. The first is the secular view adopted by most of the scientific community, which denies the creator, or what they call the supreme being, and attributes the beginnings of the emergence of humans to the role of nature in selecting and evolving from other races. The second is the doctrinal view, which adopts the starting point of creation and returns it to the will of a God who plans everything. Between this culture and that, all opinions center. But the Sumerian culture adopts a completely different story, and what is strange is that it contradicts all other opinions, regardless of how different they are. In general, ancient stories spread in various civilizations around the world. These stories, which are called myths, are wrapped in many imaginary events. But in general, these myths must be based on a group of historical events for which we find a real reference most of the time. What makes the story somewhat acceptable to many is the amount of events it contains, for which we may find a historical or scientific reference, or even find a reasonable explanation for some mysteries that modern science is unable to explain. In all cases, with all of these stories, the researcher must remove the myths from this story and take from it only what is consistent with the facts, which is what we will discuss in this research. The Sumer civilization, that ancient civilization, is credited with many of the sciences that we use now, which are the basis of our modern life, including the modern calendar based on lunar cycles, the numerical system used in geometry and time measurement, the wheel and the plow, irrigation systems such as dams and canals, and also sailboats. They were a civilization so meticulous in their documentation of science that they spoke the first known language and left evidence through the oldest writings yet discovered. Some scholars and researchers wonder, if we give this civilization credibility in inventions and sciences, why do we not give it credibility in history and ancient stories as recorded on its tablets? The answer is because going with the stories of the Sumerian civilization may make us see the origin of human life from a completely different point of view. Most importantly, they disagree with theories of predicting the future of humanity and the nature of life around us. According to unearthed Sumerian tablets 445,000 years ago, a type of being came to Earth called the successor gods. At that time, most of the Earth's inhabitants were wild creatures, including the first human ancestors. Those beings they called Annunaki, which means those who came from heaven to Earth. They inhabited a distant orbital planet called Nibiru, which enters our solar system once every 3,600 years. Speaking of the solar system, the Sumerians knew very well that the Earth is a spherical planet and not flat, and that the solar system consists of 8 planets, including the Earth and the 8 planets all revolving around the Sun in the center. This perception is the same as the current perception of the shape of the planets in the solar system that we know now, except that they only indicated to a 9th planet, and they determined its cycle for this long period, which amounts to 3,600 years. It is not the only civilization that knew this fact, and the evidence is that the Inca civilization in the Americas was calculating the phenomena of eclipses and solar eclipses with the utmost precision, which requires a very good knowledge of the shape of the planets and their orbits around their center, which is the Sun.